Hey guys, welcome to another East Coast Rams podcast. I'm your co-host here, Ashton, with my awesome co-host Zach. How you doing, Zach? I know you're out at a conference having a lot of fun at a hotel room, so we do apologize for any audio video issues, but you're
Hey,
you're
I'm
making that
I'm on
money.
location. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
on location. I mean, it's Louisville, Kentucky, so it's sorry for anyone who lives in Louisville, Kentucky, but it's just fine. It's just fine.
quaint.
But yeah, it's quaint. It's very quaint. A lot of stuff been happening over the last couple of weeks. We had Rams training camp. We have the Olympics going on. It's probably the first time I've ever actually sat down and watched a good portion of the events. So that's been really cool. How are you, Ashton?
I'm doing good. I don't really watch the Olympics. It's just there's some sports that don't mind watching. Uh, I prefer the winter over the Summer Olympics. I really only watch soccer and sometimes I like watching Simone Biles. She's like amazing, but besides those two, it just doesn't really interest me much.
Volleyball's been very interesting. I've been watching the men's
I can.
volleyball. They're doing really well. Fencing was fun to watch. There's been several stuff that I've been finding interesting. But again, watching Simone Biles, it's just she's a goat in her sport, and But you guys did not come here to hear about the Olympics. You came to hear about our thoughts about the Rams. And again, the Rams have been busy over the last several weeks at training camp.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Before we get into stuff, please like and subscribe if you guys don't mind. It definitely helps out, and we appreciate everyone who watched the last video. We're doing very well, and we just appreciate all love. We put a good amount of work in this, and don't get paid for it, so we just do it out of heart. So,
Yeah, leave
uh,
a comment down below. Like, tell us what your favorite part about Rams training camp is, or even the practices with the Chargers. Please leave what your favorite moment has been so far.
yeah, let us know what your favorite O line combination is going to be. Uh,
Let's not
going
talk
through
about
the
that yet. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, we're going to talk
Hey,
about that. The O line, it's a hot mess express. But do you have any? Do you I don't want to put you on the spot just quite yet, but any thoughts about training camp? I mean, it seemed like we started off really strong. There was a lot of players that were looking really good. Um, and then obviously towards the end and now into this joint practice with the Chargers, we're starting to hit that kind of injury bug, which started small. It has now grown to pretty much the whole entire O line, and we also have some other key players that are missing. But before we get into those key injuries, like, do you have any thoughts about the training camp that just ended?
yeah, so the thing about training camp is you can't really read, or even these joint practices, it's all controlled environments, uh, especially with training camp. Half of it is without pads, very non contact based. So, like, it's not 100% predictive of the season. It's a lot of good scenarios and work they get in for a lot of these athletes. So overall, like, I think it's good to hear all that stuff coming out. I just always take it with a grain of salt if it's bad or good. It is. I would say the joint practices are a little bit more alarming, and we definitely saw that last year with the Raiders and Cowboys. That I do think the team was a little unprepared because they were very young going into the season and they grew into the season. That's why we started off 3-6. Yeah, we had some good wins early on, but I would say a lot of that was like a growth that needed to be achieved. And you can see that this team is still very young, still growing a lot. And we're going to have to lean on some of these rookies and potentially going to have to lean on some extra linemen if we can't get some of these guys healthy and ready for week one.
Yeah, definitely. And I really agree with you. Like, you have to take training camp results with that grain of salt, but it can give you some insight. What you should be paying, what to me you should be paying for or paying attention for is the 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 chemistry of the O line, the chemistry of the defensive line. Yes, Stafford's going to make his throws, but how are the receivers catching the ball? I know it's not up against full run defense, but I don't really care about the touchdowns and all those types of things. But like, how is
Yeah.
the team just performing in general? And again, that just gives you a good parameter of where they're at. And everything seemed to be pretty successful. I mean, you kind of go through and you look at some of the key players that really have shined. Fisk being one of them. I think he
Mhm.
really shined in the training camp, and that's a player that we're really going to be leaning on in this defense. He's going to have to step up. Again, no one's going to replace Aaron Donald, but someone's going to have to actually fill that spot at least, and give us some percentage of what Aaron Donald did for us.
Mhm. Yeah, and before we kind of get into these little scrimmages we had with the Chargers, some breakout camps, some breakout stars from training camp that people have been talking about. Reports that come out. Kobe Durant has had a pretty good camp so far. Charles Woods, I believe he's an undrafted free agent DB. He's been even. I've heard Sean McVay mention him a few press conferences, so that's impressive. Kitchens, apparently, we will go into this. He was doing good in training camp, and he had a great game against the Chargers. Now,
Yeah.
not 100% against because Herbert isn't there. It's Easton Stick, but a grain of salt. Kitchen still
Yeah.
sounds like he's continuing like doing good from training camp. Mentioned.
Parkinson, tight end. He's been doing really well going through training camp. Wide receiver Tyler Johnson is another one of those players. Again, when it comes to wide receivers, again, you kind of have to take them a little bit with a grain of salt. Remember Lance McCutcheon a few years ago? He was a pretty much a stud in preseason, but then never really got any playing time after that. So some of these wide receivers, even though it seems like we're going to have at least some good depth pieces um, moving forward.
Yeah, and Davis Allen has had some really good plays, really good time on the first team. Blake Corum, he's had some fumble issues during the Chargers, so I don't know how much of that is like not wanting to take contact in a practice setting or not. So it definitely still an issue. And the talk about kind of like not paying too much attention to wide receivers, especially with some of the catching stats and stuff. I think what they're looking for is your ability to block. They want you to be able to block first, and then if you can make plays, that's how you get on the field. Like I think that's how Puka Nakua really escalated into the player he was because he did the dirty work in training camp, proved to the coaching staff he could block, and then he was starting to catch and do stuff there, and that's what really gets you playing time. If you can make the plays but can't block, you're not going to be as useful in this offense as you need to
Well,
be.
well, and remember, you also have to take the advantages that you're given. I mean, remember when Puka Nakua was, in this position last year, Cooper Kupp was injured. So Puka Nakua had to step up in this role. And so with some of these injuries that are happening now that we'll get to here in just a minute, you have those players have to take those
Yeah.
opportunities when they're given. Um, but like I said, I think it's been really good to see these players get back on the field. The other things that you can kind of see is where they were from last season to this season. Someone that comes to my mind is Byron Young. He's slimmer. He's like about 10-ish pounds lighter than he was previously. He's working on that speed, and he's another one of those candidates that I have on my list that he has had a really good training camp, and he's really wanting to solidify that role. I think he's probably heard he was brought here to be that edge piece,
Mhm.
and he doesn't want to lose his job. And so I think he wanted to take this offseason to slim down, to get faster, and be able to get to that quarterback a lot quicker.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Leonard Floyd. Just that good balanced pass rusher, run stopper, just overall solid linebacker, uh, kind of prototype there. I will say Jordan Whittington did get a lot of positive praise from Sean McVay for blocking, and that kind of raised my eyebrows, Zach, because say what you must, Tutu never really got that. Uh,
Tutu's
so it,
smaller. I mean, he's a different build, and he's
I know
built
it's
for
harder.
speed. He's built for speed, and so and I even think it came out that Tutu Atwell is really probably going to be primarily the kick returner, especially now with all the new rules, which is another topic that we'll talk about. But that's probably going to be his position is going to be that for Tutu is going to be that punt returner, kick returner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You want to go ahead and talk about these injuries? Racking up, man. First one, the worst. Alert Jackson. McVay says he doesn't expect it to be fully long term. Uh, or was that Jonas Jackson that's out?
Jonah Jackson's out right now is about 6 weeks with
Okay.
a shoulder injury. So there's a very small chance that he'll be back for week one. So we're hoping for a speedy recovery. We really need that O line to be solid. Uh,
Yeah.
so, but he as far as the O line goes, I think he is in the worst shape. Um,
Jonas Jackson.
so
Yeah, I thought Alert Jackson was worse. But sounds like he'll be back. Uh, I don't think he was playing with the Chargers, which Stu thought he might be able to be good to go by then, but I don't think he played. Rob
I have
Havenstein left practice with a foot being stepped on. That sounds like it'll take like a week or two, and he'll be fine. Hopefully.
yeah, considered week to week. Currently listed as an ankle injury. Um,
And then same thing with Puka Nakua. And when I saw that video, like without any context on social media, my heart dropped. Like I was like, that the way he kind of went down, you never want to see that. But he walked away. Sounds good,
there's
but
no
they
damage. Yeah, I mean, as from what McVay said by his quote, is that he doesn't. Well, the quote is really just had a little bit of burst Kasak, kind of a burst. It's just going to be week to week with him. Nothing serious, nothing structurally. So that's really good to hear. Um,
I mean, I don't trust McVay talking about knees.
I, yeah, but I don't. I think at the same time, like that's something you can't really lie about. Like they did X-rays. I don't really think that's something that
Okay.
you're gonna lie about. But it is what it is. So yeah, so we have Rob Havenstein's out, Jonah Hill's out for right now, Alaric Jackson's out, Puka Nakua is out. Um,
Okay.
uh, actually,
Kobe
so
Turner is coming back too.
Kobe Turner, yep, he's coming back.
Yeah.
Did he play already? I have my notes here and I'm trying to go through all of
I
them as far as
don't
um,
think he played
he
against
is
the
not.
Chargers
I think he might have played today. Today might have been his first day back. That's why
today.
I'm
Okay.
thinking, yeah.
We're
Brandon Fisk
recording
is
this on Tuesday, by the way, guys.
yeah. Brandon Fisk is currently out as well. He's day to day. Apparently, he has a giant blister the size of his foot on his foot. So they're taking that day to
How'd that
day.
happen?
Um, Not sure, but
That
make
must
sure
be a
you
sock thing, like
yeah
sock and
make sure,
like.
make sure you wear good socks. Um, let's see. I was trying to go through. Um Darius Williams, he's week to week with a strained hamstring. Obviously, we know Darion Kendrick, he's out. That's kind of um, some of the reason why some other players are getting their chance. So that, and then obviously Higby is also out. So those are the kind of the players that are currently on our injured list that we're going to be keeping an eye on going through the first week or so.
Yeah, we signed that cornerback from the Lions, right? I'm trying to think of
Yes.
his name. I
Yeah.
can't think of his name, guys. I apologize. I'm
But the
looking
Rams
for it.
did. So while you're looking for that, let's talk about the breaking news of what the Rams did do today. So the Rams did let go a couple players who were at the very bottom of the depth chart. Not really going to get into those, um, but the Rams did sign lineman Matt Caskey, Alec Lindstrom, and Connor Dormant. Those are the players who are they're all offensive linemen. Again, McVay is trying to, if something happens to that offensive lineman, they need backup. Um, so going through some of these players, Alec Lindstrom, he actually was a USFL player. Is that right? A UFL, the Memphis Showboats. So he has experience there. McDormand is actually the probably the offensive line player who has the most experience. He has played 55 games in his career with 17 starts. 11 of those are with the Patriots within the last 2 seasons. And then the other guy, Kasky, he was an undrafted rookie tackle with the Rams in 2019.
Mm,
So he's kind of been bouncing back between the NFL and the USFL.
yeah. I mean, Connor McDermott is a interesting depth piece there. Potentially, like if he can prove to be better than what he was with the Patriots, and for all the flack the Patriots got last 2 years. Correct me, Zach, if you have a different impression of the Patriots. I didn't watch a whole lot of Patriots games, but it always felt like their O line was like average, not bad or not good, and it wasn't the problem in New England.
To be honest, I don't get to focus too much on the Patriots. I have quite a few other teams that are in my view, so I'll have to believe you on that one.
Yeah, I mean the games I watched, which was probably over the last 2 years, like three or four. Not many, but I at least thought it was more on the QB and wide receivers, especially the offense. Jerry
But like,
Jacobs
oh yeah,
is the DB we signed. Do you have any thoughts on Jerry Jacobs from Lions? Really struggled with Detroit. He wasn't the worst. He had some good moments, but that Detroit secondary has struggled, especially 2 years ago. Last year they were a little bit better, adding Gardner in the back, but
I think losing Kendrick just kind of lit something more because again that I think we became really worried about the Rams secondary, and so again, you know, I think that's really what the Sean McVay is really trying to focus on is trying to figure out where their weak spots, where do they need more depth, and I think between the Rams offensive line and the Rams defense secondary, those are the two spots. That's what he's doing. I think it's a smart move. And so we'll see how it all plays out. But this is the time. This is the time where these players are going to get their opportunities. They have to step up if they want an active spot.
yeah, and you only like in your career, especially in the NFL, you really only get one, two, or three chances at making a roster, at like making your shot and making a name. And I hope for all these players' sake, they do the best. And like, uh, I want every player to be successful. It's not realistic, but hopefully, all these guys can put in a good job and make it hard on training staff.
Yeah, but right now, what the Rams are looking like, and as far as this training camp or as these joint practice are not good. I mean, Sean McVay's come out and said this isn't good. And again, the Rams aren't going to show all of their strengths in these joint practices. It doesn't matter who wins or loses. They're just trying to get some real reps. But like I don't think the Rams want to go out there and look like they're getting embarrassed. You look at the some of the stuff that has happened, and um, this was I'm just again going through all my notes. But like as of like yesterday, the Rams turned over the ball 6 times in their offense. Blake Corum fumbled the ball once after a reception. So these are these are things that are just not good. Plus, on top of that, now we're getting injured players. Puka Nakua got injured through these joint practices. So the Rams are going to have to be careful how they want to utilize their stars and their weapons in these joint practices when, yes, they have some pads on, but they're not fully prepared um, as they would during a normal NFL game. I mean, you look at them and their shorts, their compressions only go up to their knees. They're not their normal bandage wrapped stuff like that to keep things in position. Um, so that's kind of my thoughts. Offense not looking super great in general. I mean, this is all levels. This is the offensive line. This is Stafford. This is the receivers. We're just not giving a good performance right now.
Yeah. Well, talking about offense, Zach, our QB was wanting a pay raise and wanting a big sack of money, and he got his sack of money. Some of the contract details came out uh, via Tom Pelissero. Can't say that name. He got a $12 million signing bonus, 23 guaranteed this year, and a $4 million roster bonus. So basically, it's a 1 year, $40 million deal, and he gave up his 2025 guarantees. So basically, pushed all his guarantees into this year, so he could
And I
get
think
paid.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move for the Rams. I mean, this is the happy medium spot that I think the Rams and Stafford really wanted. Um, this is going to be we're going to do it this year. You gave you your money. We're going to reevaluate next year. The Rams want Matthew Stafford as long as Matthew Stafford is what he is currently. If things start to decline, if something happens, they're not tied to him past this. Really tied to him past this season as far as the guaranteed money goes, and they're not betting their future on an older quarterback, even though they have a relationship with him. This isn't Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. This is a relationship. Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Cooper Kupp, this is a relationship that has been working. Now it's just the financial part of it, which really takes the agents and the front office staff of the Rams to figure it out. And they want to come up with a solution. It just has to be mutually acceptable for both parties. So I'm glad they were able to get that worked out.
Mhm. And he's still only making 40 mil for, yeah, I think me and you would argue he's a top five quarterback in the league. That's still kind of a pay cut for being team friendly there to help out the roster. So I do appreciate that. I think it's smart. I think more QBs, especially later in their career after they made a good chunk of change, should think about doing something like this to help out their teams and their legacy. I feel like you get more money if your legacy is better. That's a personal
I,
opinion. It's not me making
we
the
could,
money, so.
yeah, I mean, we could talk about it. I mean, 40 million for 1 year is something that most people will never have in their entire life times 20. And so from a fan aspect, it's like we're paying these guys a lot of money, and I know that they deserve a lot of money. They do their job, and they're the most important position probably on the field. But at the same time, if all of your money or 70-80% of your money is now in one position, your chances of going to the Super Bowl and winning multiple championships just goes downhill. Tom Brady, if you look at Tom Brady's a good example where it wasn't always about the money. It was about getting the rings. It was about being that championship. He is the GOAT because he was kind of selfless a little bit when it came to paydays. Guys are still getting paid buku bucks outside of the Rams organization. They're buying ads and all the stuff that they represent. So I'm just glad that it was a good deal for both sides.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, do you want to talk about cheating?
I'm gonna
The
let you go
cheating
over
rules?
this one. I'm gonna let you go over this one, and then can you also talk about the other new rule that we're going to have, the kick return rule?
Uh, oh, you're talking about the new way they're doing kickoffs,
Yeah,
right? Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So I'll talk about the cheat motion rule. So the league changed it, even though at least to my knowledge, I thought it was illegal anyways to it was definitely legal to go forward. So basically, if you guys don't know, uh, a lot of teams started messing around. First the Dolphins, and then the 49ers, and then kind of the Rams started using it. And you started seeing these motions before the time of snap and during at the time of snap. And basically, apparently, some teams were having that motion go upfield, not only at the time of snap, but before it. And that's what this rule is basically saying. You cannot be moving forward while the ball is being snapped, and it would be count as a false start. Now, I for most of the Rams, the way we utilized it, I would say majority of ours was going backwards at that point in time. Maybe I'm wrong and I just wasn't paying attention enough. But I do not believe this would impact us as much as it would, like, especially the 49ers. I felt like the 49ers were more using this rule while having players go forward after the snap, especially with Debo Samuel. He did a lot of stuff kind of using it, you could say abusing this loophole until this year. I'll be interested to see if they don't try to eliminate it fully next year because it's still saying you can go backwards. That's fine, but you cannot go forward.
I have to see it in action. We'll see how it goes.
It looks cool when it works, and it completely like so it does a lot of like killing the forward momentum of linebackers because linebackers have to either try to like move up to meet the person in motion or they get completely frozen, and that kind of gives that person the advantage because defense can't really uh, it's harder to counter it, especially when you're talking about filling in gaps and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it works out. And then, yeah, the NFL changed the way kickoffs work. So, they're more entertaining. That's what the NFL cares about. And then they also use the excuse it's a little bit more safe, which I do agree. It's less momentum, less distance. I'm
It
in
just
favor
makes
of getting rid of it, but
yeah. I
that's
mean,
me.
it feels like the kicker has to be super accurate. It feels like there's a lot of like if this then that, like so many different pieces. If it goes here, then we do this instance. If it goes here, we do this separate instance. That's how it felt to me when I was like reading the rules. It's like if it doesn't go far enough, and now you have to tell a team, right? You also have to tell a team when you're doing an onside kick.
Hmm. Yep, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
only can be in the fourth quarter if you're losing.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. And that's what Sean McVay said. His quote was, "It feels weird."
I will see. I don't think what the NFL's been doing for 3 or 4 years prior was any good either. Like the kickoffs were just kind of useless. You're always on your phone, and it's just you're not paying attention, and players get hurt needlessly, especially deaf players. So it just wasn't doing anyone good. So I think it's worth trying it. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are two NFL rule changes.
Yep. Well, so the Rams are they're coming back. Football is officially back this week. The Rams will take on the Cowboys
Sunday.
Sunday, August 11th at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. That's 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you're like us, the East Coast Rams, that's what time you'll find us there. You can it's going to be on YouTube and Paramount Plus. Um, so yeah, it's going to be
I
fun just to see football again, even though it's not going
I
to have any starters. Remember, everybody, the Rams never play their starters.
yes. Pay attention to who doesn't start because that tells you who you might want to pick up in fantasy. But just to answer or reply to that, Zach. It is NFL Network only. You have to get NFL Plus to watch it or have
That
that
is
on cable.
Oh, interesting. Because that's not what the Rams posted. They said presented by Paramount Plus, available on YouTube.
Maybe locally. I don't know if that's locally only or maybe it's nationally and they changed it, but
I think it was, but it's still free. I think last year I even watched it on the Rams website. Like they had it live, just the preseason games. They had it live um, on their website. Either way, keep us. You know what? You know what? You can find these answers? Just go to our social media. You can find us at x.com/@EastCoastRams. You can keep
mhm.
us. All the information will come there. When we find out, we will let you know. So please go there. You can find us on Threads. We're East Coast Rams Pod there. We're on Instagram, East Coast Rams Pod. Yeah, you can find Ashton at Rams Fan Ashton 1, and you can find me at Zach Mayer. Go if you're listening to us on the audio podcast. Please go to youtube.com/@EastCoastRams. Subscribe, smash that bell, leave a comment below. What was your favorite part of training camp or the joint practices? Please, down below, down. Also, if you're on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you're listening to this, please give us a 5-star review. You don't even have to write anything, but the more you like, share, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, leave comments below. Those are the ways that we can increase our presence online, and it's free. It's free for you. It's all you have to do. Share us with the world. Ashton, anything else you want to say before we wrap this episode up?
I'm looking forward to seeing Stinson Bennett dice up what you can attempt to call defenses in the preseason. So we'll see.
We might see a little Jimmy G. You think Stetson Bennett all the way?
I would expect him to have what Dresser win. It'll be Dresser win and Stenson Bennett the entire time. There's no need to put Jimmy G out there.
You're right. But
who has also been throwing a lot of picks in practice, apparently.
I mean, Dresser win and Brett Stinson are going to need some practice because they will be the backup quarterback for Matthew Stafford week 1, while Jimmy G is not allowed to play. So we'll look at that. But guess what, guys? Football is back on Sunday. So as always, let's get it done. And we'll see y'all next time. Whose house? Rams house.